Welcome back. So much going on around here. All of it brought to you by our friends at Howard Bank, as well as our friends at Cole Roofing, bringing our Be More Positive community and charity series together for you on Thursday mornings. And let's see here. We got the Orioles at home all week. Luke will be down at Oriole Park at Camden Yards and trying to document their awfulness, and we'll be breaking down all of the awfulness in the Machado and who we're trading for whom and all that, and who's running the place. Then we got lacrosse going on, and obviously all across the state, people worked up about that. The Capitals in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm heading down to Tampa for some hockey. We're all worked up about that. But we have a Kentucky Derby champion, not just a champion. I mean, we're talking about a hell of a race on Saturday in the slop down at Churchill Downs. I spent the day at Laurel, where they've done incredible work there in making that beautiful sports bar more beautiful. And Stan Salter spent the day with me for Derby Day. And Stan, I can make all sorts of puns about Justify and Bob Baffert and all that. But for those of you working at the Maryland Jockey Club, readying up the old girl in Old Hilltop, at Pimlico, and getting ready for the two most important weeks of the year for you guys. Boy, this sets up nicely. I mean, you know, we got people talking about sports, talking about Lamar Jackson, talking about Joe Flacco. The weather is broken, and now Bob Baffert is going to bring this horse with a chance to chase his own legend and the legacy of the horse a couple of years ago. This is a pretty delicious story brewing out there at Pimlico, Stan Salter.
Yeah, Justify, he looked very impressive. He's undefeated. Your Kentucky Derby winner remains undefeated. And the Hall of Famer Bob Baffert, he's going for a record-tying 7th Preakness Stakes win. Some trainer back in the 1800s, his last name was Whalen, I believe. He won 7 Preaknesses back in the 1800s. So Baffert trying to tie that record. He's undefeated when he's won the Kentucky Derby. Baffert is. When he's won the Kentucky Derby with a horse and he comes to the Preakness, he's undefeated. And of course, the last time he did it was with American Pharoah in 2015. We know what happened then. American Pharoah went on to win the Triple Crown, and Justify, he looks awfully good. He looks awfully good, and reports from Kentucky are that the horse is doing well. And he's expected to get to Baltimore, Maryland, about Wednesday before the Preakness. Everybody can get their tickets and keep up with all the latest Preakness news on the new and improved website, Preakness.com. But we're looking forward to getting Justify, the most famous racehorse in the world, coming to Baltimore, Maryland now for the Preakness Stakes.
Stan Salter is the handicapper at Laurel as well as at Pimlico, and the meet now moves to Pimlico, and all eyes on Hilltop for next Saturday, the Black-Eyed Susan, of course, and the Pink Festival on Friday. You know, you mentioned Baffert, and we're going to talk a lot about him. And look, next week, Kenny Mayne will be here. Baffert himself will be joining me. We'll have all the horse racing stuff. I'm going to do a lot of hockey this week, and obviously the fallout of the Orioles awfulness and the Ravens and Lamar Jackson and some lacrosse. A lot of things going on around here. But Baffert, to me, is as interesting a story as anyone for this race, his dominance of this race, his ability to win these Kentucky Derbies and then bring a horse here. And one of the things that will be said here over the next week and a half, and I know Lafitte Pinkai was talking about it after the race, I know Eddie Olczyk talked about it, is who's going to come to Baltimore next week and try to knock Baffert off. We've seen Pletcher and these other guys say, you know what, I'll just gear up and go up to Elmont, New York and wait it out, and I'll see you in 6 weeks up there or 5 weeks up there, and, you know, I'll get my horse ready up there to go after you. This horse is going to go off as a massive favorite next week because the Preakness has become a little bit of a soft underbelly in this thing to some degree, that if you win the Derby, some horses do want to ship to Belmont and not come after you, and that's going to be a part of this story, I think, over the next week, Stan.
Well, you have a Hall of Famer by the name of D. Wayne Lucas. He's going to have 2 horses in the Preakness. He's not afraid of no Justify or Bobby Baffert out there on the left coast. D. Wayne Lucas, the old ball coach, he's already committed to coming to the Preakness. He's coming with Bravazzo, who ran respectably. I think he was 6th or 7th in the Derby with a triple trip. Bravazzo ran okay in the Derby. He's coming to the Preakness. And Wayne Lucas also coming with the new shooter to the Preakness, a 3-year-old by the name of Sporting Chance. And, Lucas, I think he's won the Preakness 5 or 6 times. I'm going to say 6 times. I think him and Baffert are tied with 6 wins apiece in the Preakness. And, Lucas is no stranger to pulling off the upset in the Preakness. Last time he did it, was with Oxbow back in 2013, I believe. Yeah, 2013 Oxbow, and Gary Stevens pulled off the upset in the Preakness. So the Hall of Famer Lucas, he's not afraid of nobody. He's showing up with two. You had the Tampa Bay Derby winner Quip. He's showing up. He's fresh and ready to go. You have the Federico Tessio winner, Diamond King, trained by John Service, who won the Preakness with Smarty Jones. They're coming to the Preakness. New shooters can win the Preakness. That's exactly what happened last year. Always Dreaming was a heavy favorite for Todd Pletcher, and you had an upset winner with Cloud Computing for trainer Chad Brown. So I think we're going to have a deep field in Preakness. I think we'll have 10 or more starters. I think we'll have at least 10 starters in there. Chad Brown saying he's considering the race with Good Magic, your Derby runner-up. So I think you'll have at least 10 starters in the Preakness. I think it'll be another deep race.
Stan Salter is our friend. You can follow him at Maryland Horse Radio, as well as Stan Salter out on Twitter and getting it done out there on a daily basis as we move up to Pimlico. Some thoughts about moving from Laurel to Pimlico this time of the year. I mean, you're a legacy kid. You were my intern here at WNST, so I'm always awfully proud of walking around Laurel on a beautiful Saturday afternoon on Derby Day, seeing your face up there on the screen and having some selfie fun with you. But from a body clock standpoint for you, your dad, and being a trainer and being involved in this, there is something about the weather breaking and making that drive up the hill at Northern Parkway, right, that sort of gets everybody a little pumped up in the horse industry about this time of the year, because there is some year-to-year magic about coming back to Pimlico. And look, we can go through the warts of Pimlico. We've been going through them for 30 years, and we all know that. We're all going to go out to the track next week and see that. But I saw the improvements of Laurel, and I see the future. But I do feel like the Preakness sort of, you smell it in the air with the pollen around here this time of year, right?
Oh, yeah, we're looking forward to getting over to old historic Pimlico. It's the second oldest racetrack in the country, second to only Saratoga, and everybody loves Saratoga. Everybody loves coming to Pimlico. I think my earliest Preakness memory was a Deputa testimony back in 1983, the last Maryland bred to win the Preakness, and then I remember seeing Gate Dancer to win the Preakness for Jack Vanberg in '84 with the earmuffs on, and everybody loves coming to Pimlico. The place will be looking great. The barn area right behind the grandstand, that's where the stakes barn is. The stakes barn will be looking great. There's 2 or 3 stakes barns where all the stakes horses stable, and you can take advantage of the Sunrise Tours starting next week that are free. No, they're not free. I think it's a small price, but starting next week, next Wednesday, early in the morning, next Wednesday, Thursday, and I believe Friday as well. The Sunrise Tours. You can check out more information about them on the Preakness.com website.
I'm looking it up right now. I'm going to find it for you. So keep going. I'll plug it properly. Sunrise Tour, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., Tuesday through Friday. So there you go. You can find it right there. Preakness.com.
All right, so start next
Tours
Tuesday.
are free, and they run on a first-come, first-served basis. So there you have it.
All right, beautiful. Starting next Tuesday. So that's always fun. Everybody loves getting out to Pimlico. Those balcony seats right there, I think, are one of the best, the best seats in horse racing at any racetrack. You're kind of right on top of the racetrack there. The Turfside Terrace is a popular seating venue for Black-Eyed Susan Preakness days. The dining room is beautiful. You're right on top of the track there. Sunday brunch is always fun. So we all love getting to Pimlico this time of year.
He is Stan Salter, handicapper extraordinaire, my former intern around here. And look, no one knows the horse game better than you. And seeing these horses run, and I know you've watched the Derby 10 times by now to try to figure it all out. The muddiest track I've ever seen, at a Derby for sure. And I was down there when they had that torrential rain about 10 years ago that blew in a half an hour before the race and turned the course into a milkshake shape, quite frankly. But it was raining all day there. So much was made about the size of the field. And I always think it's kind of goofy when the Derby takes off and these horses look like they're running out of Lexington on the left side of the screen. They look like they're coming in from the parking lot or something, literally. And there's all this action and horses getting moved around and jostled around amongst the mud. That was a hell of a trip for this horse, right? And for the jockey and for the hold-on at the end to even hold out hope that at Belmont, where that track gets longer, that if this horse can survive Pimlico next week, that this is a horse that we're going to be comparing to American Pharoah as well as Secretariat over the next 3 or 4 weeks, because this horse does look kind of special out of the gate. To win in that sort of environment, in that sort of way, I think it kind of took Baffert's breath away after the race Saturday.
Yeah, it was very impressive. He was the Kentucky Derby morning line favorite. He won the Santa Anita Derby. He was getting hyped. The last winter, he was getting hyped. Baffert was telling everybody he had a nice 3-year-old, but the horse was just real big, and he had to be a little patient and wait with the horse. That's why the horse didn't run at 2. And, look at, ever since the horse's maiden win, where he had a 100-plus Buyer speed figure, all 4 of his races now, he's fired a higher, 100-plus Buyer speed figure. So he's undefeated. He's thrown in all 5 of his starts now. I'm sorry. He was only making his 4th start in the Kentucky Derby. So I mean, he's been a freak every time he's been on the racetrack, and he has that early tactical speed. His running style it fit him well in the Derby. He kind of got out there in the front flight going into that first turn. He didn't have any mud on him. And but when they hung off the early half mile, 45 and change, you wondered if he could keep going. But he did keep going. He had another gear at the end, which means he's a special horse. So his running style will suit him well, I think, in the Preakness. And then if he can, get through that well, he might march right to the front in that 1.5-mile contest up there at Belmont. He might go right to the front like American Pharoah did and Secretariat did and go all the way. We'll see one race at a time. He's got to get to Baltimore and get through the Preakness first. And we're looking forward to seeing him give it a go.
Anything about the race that shocked you? I mean, Mendelssohn running, at the end, obviously is there because, but you had some horses that you liked in the race. But when you see the rain like that, to me, it was a reason to not like a lot of reasons to not like Justify, with the weather being the way it was, which I think makes this horse even look that much more special, because you liked 5 horses in this race, and certainly that horse, having not run as a 2-year-old, it makes it harder to not like a horse you haven't seen. But now that you've seen this horse and see it do what it did in these conditions, in this way, against the best horses in the world, very hard to not like that horse next week, right?
Yeah, I mean, he overcame a lot. There was a lot of people on the walkover with all that rain and the mud and everything. He answered, and it was only his 4th career start. So he answered every test in the Kentucky Derby, and he might be even better in the Preakness. Yeah, you have to think he's going to keep getting better. If all goes well. So
one thing we know, Baffert won't screw this up, right? Like, Baffert's going to come in here, touch the soil, touch the track. He's won here. He's a legend. He's got the horse. He's not going to wilt. The jockey's not going to wilt. Whether the horse can come back in 2 weeks, that's really the question. And at this point, a lightly raced animal that apparently came out of this slot pretty well, and to your point, didn't get wrestled around, didn't have mud all over, didn't have any of that, and sort of almost eased to the finish to some degree. This thing, makes for a delicious combination for Baffert, because he's never lost this thing, right? So there's no reason to not like Bob Baffert and Justify next Saturday coming into this.
Yeah, I mean, Baffert, he's certainly a reliable trainer. He's a Hall of Famer. He's going for his record-tying 7th Preakness, and he's undefeated when he's come here with the Kentucky Derby winner. So he's not going to make any mistakes. They're still animals, though. They're not machines, and you always gotta knock on wood in this game. And I'm sure Baffert will be holding his breath every now and then, making sure the horse shifts up here well and trains well here in Baltimore, and everything goes well. And you know, you got to make sure the horse, and you know, they still have to run the horse race. You know, he's got to break well and everything. They still have to run the horse race. Remember, Bob Baffert was going for the Triple Crown with the heavy favorite with War Emblem, and what happened? The horse stumbled to his nose coming out of the gate in the Belmont, and he lost to the big long shot that year. I think Saraba. So you know, he's got to ship up here. Well, you know, he's talking about an airplane ride and all that. And so there's a lot that still has to happen. They still have to run the horse race, but he's going to be a popular favorite. I'm looking forward to seeing him up close and in person, because they say he's a real big, impressive looking horse. So you know, I wish he was coming here sooner, but he'll be coming here the Wednesday before Preakness. We'll get to see him then.
So this is the fun part where I get to have lingo with you, like big, impressive horse. And I would say, well, how many hands?
He's I think he's what they say he's like 16'3", maybe 17 hands, I think.
Well, I love that expression, how many hands a horse is. So, you know, I'm just trying to get my horse lingo down here, like, you know, exactas and perfectas and trifectas and pick sixes. And, you know, spending the day out at Laurel, as I did on Saturday, it really has become this evolved thing, right? Like, where you walk in and all the other racetracks are there. You feel like you're in Vegas, but you walk out and there are the horses, and you're in the grandstand, you're in the clubhouse. You can go get a crab cake, go get a hot dog. You can come down to the paddock where you are and literally watch the horses get set. I mean, you can really touch the animals, and I think that's part of it, where you don't touch the football players and baseball players as much or as close as maybe you once did. This is still an incredibly intimate experience when you go down to Laurel and watch racing and come close up on these animals. You fall in love with the animals all over again. My wife bought a hat this weekend. She can't wait for the Preakness next week, Stan.
Yeah, it's a family fun atmosphere out there at Laurel and at Pimlico. You can come close to the paddock and see the horses in there. Kids love it. The outriders normally come over with their ponies, and the kids can pet them. So it is an up close, intimate experience for the whole family. And then you saw the sports bar. You have all the all the TVs up there. The sports bar that's really coming along. That was it's new. I think like the past year and a half it debuted. And then they redid it, and it re-debuted last Saturday. What'd you think of it?
You know what? I think everything about the experience of going down there is different than the old experience of going, right? Like, so if you haven't been for a while to Laurel specifically, I mean, I think I'm not going to talk anybody in or out of the Preakness. It's something you want to do, it's something you're into, you know what you're getting when you're going there, you know Bob Baffert's coming, you know what kind of a day it is for Maryland. So selling the Preakness in that way, that's cool and all that. But going down to Laurel on a Saturday and just taking your wife or taking your kids down there, it is such an improved experience and such a pleasurable experience that my wife and I were like, we ought to do this a little more often and come down, and it's 20 minutes from our house. It's not far. So that's the experience I had on Saturday. So, Stan, you're going to be stuck seeing me a little more often this summer. How about that?
All right, beautiful. Yeah, after we'll be at Pimlico for 3 weeks. And then we'll be back to Laurel for the rest of the year, and we'll have a bunch of big fields on our world-class turf course. We'll have a bunch of big weekends, a bunch of big Super Saturdays all summer long. So lots of different activities all summer long. We have a popular crab feast. I think that's sometime in August. And lots of great stuff going on there all summer long.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's good seeing you. Rest up, rest your pipes. You got a big week and a half here. We got the Pink Festival, Black Eyed Susan next Friday, and of course the Preakness Stakes being run next Saturday. Bob Baffert bringing Justify up here, and everyone else trying to chase him. We're going to have a ton of horse racing coverage around here next week. You can find Stan Salter out at Maryland Horse Radio, as well as Stan Salter. And if you're coming to the track at any point at Old Hilltop over the next week and a half, he's usually the good-looking fella on the left on the screen picking the horses there as well. You can find me out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Want to give a shout-out to our friends at Royal Farms. Real fresh, real fast. They got the Kona blend in the mug here. I'm going to work on that dark Brazilian roast. Never had it. I like a dark roast. That might be up my alley. Royal Farms, make sure you're using the app when you're getting your gas, when you're buying your smokes, you're buying a chicken, some fried chicken, some Western fries, a 3-pack like I'm breast, 2 wings, fries, and a roll. That's how I roll with it at Royal Farms. And the hashtag at ROFO as well. Speaking of Royal Farms, the Royal Farms Arena hosting Baltimore Brigade action May 25th. The Brigade come back. You can learn more about everything Arena Football League and Randy Hippert and all those guys tossing it around. The Philadelphia Soul will be the victims on May 25th down at the Royal Farms Arena, all at BaltimoreBrigade.com. And you can go to Monumental Sports, download the app, get caught up in the Caps as well. So we get that going here over the next week and a half. Isn't that going to be a lot of fun around here? You can do all of that out at WNST.net as well. The morning newspaper ships to your email inbox each and every morning at 7 a.m. It includes the Maryland Jockey Club and the Pimlico entries, as well as the front of our website as well. And each and every morning, all the headlines, all the news, all of our good stuff, all of our writing in the morning newspaper. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. Now, breaking news. Whenever the Orioles decide to deal Manny Machado, you'll get it first on the WNST text service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Sorry we sent you that text so late the night of Lamar Jackson, but hey, when breaking news happens, we're on the fence. You want us on the wall. You need us on the wall. All that A Few Good Men stuff. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here on Friday this week, not Thursday. Moving back a day just for this week. He'll be back Thursday for Preakness Week next week as well. That is the SSV on WNST. I am Nestor. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live right here on our YouTube WNSTV channel, as well as on Facebook Live. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.